All right. Good morning. We can do better than that. Good morning. Excellent. My name is Mark Stevens with the 1st Tennessee Development District.
I'm Lottie Ryans, also with the Development District.
And I'm Paula Masters with Ballot Health.
So we're here to introduce to you Strong Families Northeast Tennessee, which stands for Striving Towards Resilience and Opportunity for the Next Generation. Strong Families is a no wrong door, 3-pillar approach to build voice, trust, and investment in families with low incomes. These 3 pillars will transform the public safety net by building out a family partner network to support TANF families, invest in families to remove barriers, and provide families with much needed mental health services and a dedicated navigator to guide families through those services. By doing this, Strong Families Northeast Tennessee will increase economic mobility, self-sufficiency, and well-being by providing comprehensive, seamless, family-centered services. Now, we have a saying in Northeast Tennessee that if you do what you've always done, you're going to get what you always got. And we collected from these families and stakeholders and service providers a great deal of information, and they all told us the exact same thing about TANF. There are challenges with participation requirements, multiple barriers to employment exist, there are gaps in awareness of services, and a need for behavioral health and mental health services exists. Strong's Families 3-pillar framework is an innovative approach to the delivery of these services that will improve the lives of families throughout our region. And now Lottie, Paula, and our family design advisor, Carolyn, are going to break it down for you in greater detail.
Strong families believe that your zip code should not determine your destiny. We thought we'd share a few statistics in terms of what the challenges are, what our region looks like. A beautiful region it is, but we have some issues. For example, the child poverty rate for the state is 19%, in our region it's 28%. NAS baby births per 1,000 is 10 for the state and 37.4 for our region. Some real challenges. So the why. This is why we are doing what we're doing and proposing what we're proposing. It was the voice of the customer. It was very important for us to be intentional in getting feedback from our families, from those who serve families, and from the leaders in our community. We were intentional to make sure that every county that we are proposing, all 10 counties had representatives in these conversations, but to meet people where they were. We were doing this when the COVID variant was a little bit higher and people maybe were not comfortable always coming in person. We did one-on-ones, focus groups, online and paper surveys. Just really had a great opportunity to get feedback that, as Marcus mentioned, was consistent feedback from people everywhere. We were partnered with Maya Consulting and with East Tennessee State University's Center for Rural Health Research. So some things we heard from our families. I feel like I need a breather. I don't have anyone here. It's hard to juggle everything. We need more people to advocate for us. And for one of our Spanish-speaking sessions, I have always dreamt of having a refrigerator full of food. My husband is our sole breadwinner, and with things being so expensive, we live day to day. I doubt very many of us in this room have said we're dreaming of having food for our family, but that is exactly what our families in Northeast Tennessee are telling us. We had a community design advisor, someone with lived experience, who actually started participating with us in our design meetings, giving us feedback on what would be important to families and how we might approach our process. Please listen to Carolyn.
Hi, Family First Advisory Board members. My name is Carolyn Offen. I'm 31 years old, living in Irwin, Tennessee with my husband and 4 kids. I'm currently enrolled at Northeast State in my second to last semester with hopes of moving on and finishing with my bachelor's in nutrition and food science at ETSU. In 2015, I was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer of the tongue and lymph nodes. After having my 3rd child, it spread to more lymph nodes in my neck and to my throat. I had to undergo a handful of painful surgeries and finally chemo and radiation. I did not complete my recommended dosage, but I am well and cancer-free today. We have always struggled with income for as long as I can remember. Being a teen mom was hard. I had 2 kids by the age of 21. Although I attended college after high school, I did not complete a degree yet. I was often left working multiple jobs and still struggled to make ends meet. When I was diagnosed, I stopped working due to the mental and physical pain I was in. I had a feeding tube and a port placed for treatments. There was also a point where my husband couldn't work because our son was born in between my cancer diagnosis, and he was still an infant. I applied for supplemental Social Security benefits to help us through our hard time, but got denied. I'm assuming it's because I was so young and I haven't developed anything for them to provide us. This was a hard time for our family, both mentally and physically. It was hard to pay bills and have money to provide for our basic needs. Even making sure we had gas in our vehicle to make it to my daily radiation treatments was a struggle. Fortunately, we had family that always looked out for us and helped us in our times of need. Upon moving here to Tennessee, I searched for resources that our family could use since we're considered low income and often struggle to meet basic needs. Over the years, I found many resources people often don't know about, but it took a while to gather the information on my own. I think it is very important to include local families in the planning process because we have the lived experience. We're the only ones that know what we need and what will help us to succeed. In February, I participated in a family listening session that was hosted by the Strong Families Northeast Tennessee planning team. The session pulled together caregivers from across Northeast Tennessee to provide their input on their families' needs. I believe this program would be incredibly beneficial for families like mine, helping them weave through all their wants and needs as a family. It would be like hitting the easy button on life for people who are struggling and not aware of resources out there. Having family partners sit down with families to help them make their own goals and reach financial success would be a fantastic accomplishment for families in our area. I believe the program and services provided by family partners would increase economic mobility for families and positively affect their well-being for generations to come. Thank you for listening to my story. I look forward to continuing.
That's extremely hard to follow. But, unfortunately, what we heard from all those families and what you just heard from Carolyn's not unique. That's what we continuously heard. You heard from Lottie and from Carolyn around the why. But now let's talk about the solution, the what. By taking what we heard, plus really what they need, and pairing it with the evidence, we looked at things from the Stanford Review. We looked at things from Harvard's Developing Center for the Child. We looked at things from Penn Medicine. And what we found was they were all telling us the same thing. Your solution has to be evidence-based, but it needs to be innovative, it needs to be longer term, and that's what we've designed. We plan to serve over 1,000 families, over 1,800 kiddos in 1,000 days. We plan to do this through an integrated ecosystem of support, really using the collective impact model through common data systems, continuous communication to the families and between service providers, and creating a community of practice, really taking them from dependency to non-dependency. Our solution has 5 key goals. Build systems-level family power. Family-level power. That is when we're talking about doing things such as interrupting intergenerational poverty. Building an equity-centered, results-based network within a strong accountable care community. In Northeast Tennessee, we have an accountable care community that has over 300 multi-sector organizations already rallying behind regional resilience. The majority of those organizations have already signed up to participate in this program and are excited about it because they believe that strong children and families is how you get to regional resilience. Supportive, responsive relationships, changing that family dynamic, reducing the sources of stress. You heard about the person who just wanted food in the refrigerator. What about the other stressors that they have? And most often those things, there's not just one need, there's multiple. And strengthening core skills. Innovation through braiding together those 3 evidence pillars. The first pillar, family partners. Penn Medicine found that a 2.5 to 1 return on investment when evaluating the use of a high-intensity program that used peers with lived experience from the communities in which they serve. So not your typical case management, using peers, those that have that lived experience. That's our family partners. That's what we're proposing to use, who will be embedded across the entire region in both private and public sectors, in those partner agencies that you see here listed, and that will help to navigate to those much needed resources and to the much needed training. training such as job training, continued education and degree obtainment, financial literacy and management, parenting, resiliency, and core skills. But the other key factor is how do we make sure that we have closed loop communication and everybody's working together? We plan to connect all these through a technology called Unite Us, which is a community-based resource referral technology. That system allows for all of these 100 plus organizations to all be in one place. So as those family partners are identifying the needs of all of these families, they automatically get matched with the appropriate resource in their geography, and that partner receives that referral. So it's not just telling someone, here, you have this need, here's this organization, go. They're getting a referral, we're following up with it, and it's closed loop, one system, no wrong door communication. That's what makes it very different.
Our second pillar, investing in families. One of the things that ETSU found when they were talking with families, so they asked, what would it mean for you if you had the money to match the month? And it was things like paying rent, food, diapers, very basic needs. So we are proposing investing in families through a platform called Up Together. Imagine a platform that builds social capital, that helps families set goals. They can do problem solving for each other, is what we see happening with Up Together. Imagine investing in something with 20 years success, where 89% of the children who participated have excellent or good grades. 94% of the children who participated have excellent or good attendance. Decreased subsidy use by 48%, increased monthly income post-investments by 23%, 19% of the participants being entrepreneurs compared to 14% in the general population. Is the community a platform, a means of investing in families? 20 years experience, 200,000 people served, 135 million invested in those families. It's compelling, life-changing, and indisputable. What we heard from people in Oregon and Texas who have used this program in their communities is, in addition to the investments for people to be able to see themselves successful and their rent paid and those types of things, was also that community building was so empowering, and that they saw families doing the right things and families being able to make a difference, that they are continuing to invest in that program. Our third pillar is mental health. What we heard from families, their greatest area of need, almost 76% of families said mental health care. From those who serve families, they said that the mental health for the families they served was poor to fair for almost 90% of their families served. We propose a mental health partnership with Frontier Health and Ross McNabb, who happen to be the state's safety net. So this would be the last dollar. It would be that money that if there is a waiting period that families don't have to wait, we can fund them getting in for mental health services. We would have a mental health service navigator embedded that would help take them to the various, here's what you need in this community, make sure whatever kind of service they need, and follow up and make sure between the providers that everything is seamless. It is accelerated access. They're guaranteed to get in between 8 and 10 days of their first appointment, or if they need an immediate opportunity, that can happen. It's free, and it is accessible to our families.
So let's talk outcomes. Those three pillars that we described allows for a path to sustainability and family success. Through using validated assessment tools and methods, we plan to demonstrate 3 levels of outcomes. Those family outcomes, regional outcomes, but truly that system level change. Instead of just reading what those mean, I'm going to talk about what we plan to demonstrate. When it comes to family outcomes, 80% of families would report an increase in self-sufficiency, core skills, and responsive relationships. 90% would indicate a reduced level of stress due to source elimination and met need. 80% increase in their quality of life. But what about regional? 90% of organizations would be better equipped to assist families to achieve economic mobility, and 80% of those families served would report that they have achieved economic mobility. But what about that systems level change? What is that larger picture that we're trying to achieve? How do we normalize this? How do we create social change? We plan to show that 60% of families decrease subsidy use. And the last one, 90% of families increase in their savings, their assets, and their income. That's life-changing.
So what does this investment look like? Utilizing approximately $24.9 million over a 3-year funding cycle, Roughly half of the budget each year will be devoted to those family partners, the staffing and the expertise to do the work. That is where the rubber meets the road. The other half will be devoted to the investments to our families, to remove those barriers, whether that's to education, employment, food. That is also a key piece of our budget. And then another significant component is the meetings and the convening, so that we can build that feedback loop and refine our process over the funding cycle from year 1, 2, and 3. We look forward to your questions.
Thanks. I was really fascinated by the increasing the family power and increasing the family agency. I'm curious if you could talk more about what that looks like to actually have their agency be increased, or how you plan to do that.
Want to take it first?
So through the family partnerships, as well as the work that we're doing with them on all the various trainings we're offering to them, letting them set goals and set that pathway forward for themselves. Then with the Up Together platform, where they have others that are really rallying around them, they might say, hey, I'm interested in this kind of job. Anybody know where to get this kind of job? So really building them, setting their goals, and that we're investing in them and taking care of the problems they have, but that they are driving that.
Can I add to it? You know, I go back to the whole piece around teaching them to fish. And instead of just teaching them to fish, it's teaching them to how to identify where to fish, how to customize their fishing, how to bring their communities with them, and how to teach others to do it, to creating a community of how to fish.
Presentation that all of the components of Strong Families Northeast Tennessee are already someplace there, that this was simply an opportunity to bring them together.
No, sir. So the family partners are a new piece. So we do have, I mean, there are case managers, of course, in different organizations. One of the things that we're bringing to this is longer term, so that sometimes programs stop at 6 months. We're going to stay with families longer than that. Mental health services, yes, are available, but not available to everyone in every place that need them. And then finally, the Up Together platform and investment and Unite Us are not things that the families have access to today.
I think I understand that, but it's my sense that they are tools that have, these are all tools that are in the region, that what the secret sauce here is bringing all of these things together to make the whole greater than the sum of its parts.
I think that's exactly right, is that even though Up Together does not exist there in the region, so it is an ad, is that it's really taking those evidence-based pieces that have shown success being used solely and bringing them together to increase that impact. So the innovation comes into the combination of all of those, and of course, bringing in Up Together, that seems the way to really be the belt that brings it all together and allows for that different level of investment and data share.
And if you could just say a little bit more about Up Together. I don't need to.
Right. So Up Together is, again, it's a platform that's been around for 20 plus years. It basically allows for investing in families through grants, as well as, again, the social capital that's being built and a survey mechanism for us, so that if we want to find out information, it's a mechanism to get feedback from families. Another important piece of Up Together is they have national scope, so they have opportunities for getting investors to work with us that helps this program become sustainable.
In a prior life in healthcare, I worked really closely with Helen Ross McNabb and Frontier, and they do great work. But they've got severe, or had when I was working with them, capacity issues. Is some of your grant money going to be given to them to increase their capacity so they can do what you're promising on their behalf that
Yes,
they're
sir,
going to be able to do?
absolutely.
Okay. All right.
I'm curious to know a little bit more about Unite Us. I've never heard of it, but that could be, I'm in economic development, so that might be just because I'm not in that arena, but I'm just curious to learn a little bit more about that.
How much time do you have? No.
I know, I could probably do my own research, but I didn't know if everybody else was in the same boat.
No, it's something, it's a technology that's come on the market. There's a couple of different ones across the nation. It is new, and it's a way. It started out for healthcare systems to get outside of themselves to really look at social care and the health and the social determinants of health. Instead of thinking that everything has to do with great health care, it's that 60 to 80% of someone's health is due to actually those social determinants, such as poverty, such as those other things. And what it allows to do is to bring in all these folks into one system. So instead of somebody coming into a food bank or coming into the healthcare system, and you see that they have this need, and then you say, good luck with that, here's the address. It's not that. You actually send a referral over. That organization catches them. It's integrated. It's team-based. I can see when that referral was received. I can see what actions were taken on it. I can see when that need is met. So that way we start taking care of all these folks extremely differently. This is the technology that we chose, so we're actually providing it in kind to this entire project. We're in over 150 organizations already using Unitas in Northeast Tennessee and Southwest Virginia.
Is this a private sector database, or is this something that government, sorry? Huh? I'm sorry. No. Is that, that's your thunder?
Yes, government can use it. Is that what you're?
Yeah. I mean, is it private sector? Is private sector the customer, or?
They have multiple customers. So they work with health plans, they work with state government level healthcare entities, and then of course, hospital systems, so.
Yeah.
And it makes it makes real that concept of no wrong door, because you literally could walk through any door of a partner involved in this project and enter our system.
Very interesting. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. Jamie's always hogging the microphone. Yeah, Lord have mercy. So a couple of things. First thing is, thank y'all for being here. It's good to see you. And a little bit different here, I think, than maybe we've seen to point out is the healthcare system centering this partnership. And I hear a lot about wellness here, just holistically, which is, to me, innovative as well. But tell us who's in charge of this, execution-wise, how it's going to work operationally?
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, let me
We'll
answer
just trip over one another to answer this question.
Excellent question, Commissioner. The Development Districts Foundation is the fiscal agent, so we will do the data collection and the reporting. And in a true partnership, the strong ACC, which as Paula mentioned is 300 organizations strong, is going to build out the delivery system. And Paula can speak to that a little bit more, but that's, in a nutshell, that's what it is.
Yeah, I'll just add, oh, no.
Sorry to interrupt you, but how does the decision get made is my question.
Yeah, and that's a great question. So the Strong Accountable Care community has two backbone organizations, Ballot Health and the United Way of Southwest Virginia, but it also has a leadership council of 24 by state leaders in everything from private to public sector. A branch of that would be the advisory group for this project. So there is a built-in level of accountability and leadership that would run this initiative in concert with all the work that the Strong Accountable Care community is already undertaking.
Plus two other counties,
two counties.
Hawk and Hamblin,
Hawk
in
and
addition to the upper 8. Yeah,
Y'all did a great job.
thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, here we go. Representative
Reverend
Hawks coming in hot.
I won't be able to score this because I know these people. And I go to church with one of them. So I'm interested in, and we heard some of this yesterday. So often one hand doesn't know what the other hand's doing. And we heard some of the entryways and some of the barriers to services. Yesterday in particular, one lady had to go to multiple different organizations, tell and retell their story, and just the frustration associated with that. So the fact that 300 organizations are coming together so each hand knows what the other hand is doing is unique in the process. And she made a comment yesterday that stuck with me as I was trying to get to sleep last night. She said, "Oh, here you come, somebody else wanting to help me," type situation, and just the frustration that she had from that. So I think the unique nature of that is bringing all these entities together in lockstep. Tell me a little bit about I had asked the question earlier about the private sector, and you mentioned Ballot Health and the healthcare. I've been intrigued, and we made some mention before the presentation started about the child care aspect of that and the potentials for that as a model for not only this program, but what's happening in the private sector in that regard too.
Let me speak a couple of things, and you all can come behind me. First off, I also want to mention the feedback loop. We're going to have monthly meetings with our family partners, quarterly meetings with our families. So there's always a mechanism for how can we do better, what's not working, that we're building into this model. But from a private sector perspective, first, child care. We do have money allotted in the budget, so if somebody can find child care, that we would be able to help support them, because we don't want that to be a barrier for them going for employment. We are working through the development district, which is nice that we're partnering here on various child care capacity building, substitute teacher building, working with Child Care Tennessee in terms of building out that child care space. In terms of employment and things like that, through another Department of Labor grant that we have work that brings people from recovery and incarceration to employment. We have caring workplaces employers who are already willing to be flexible, working with employees and, what kind of schedule do you need and those sorts of things. So we would be working with those, and they represent multiple sectors across our region to help to make sure that our families are in a good place as they go into employment.
I would add to that by partnering between Ballot and the Development District, that brings a fair amount of synergy between private and public. The Development District, and you know this, Representative Hawk, because you're of us, but anyone that's not fortunate enough to be from Northeast Tennessee should know that the First Tennessee Development District is embedded in every community in our region, as is Ballot Health. So we've got that connection already there, and it's checked something that someone else said, the left and the right hand knowing what they're doing. We've built that out, and it's around this grant. It's not focused on this grant at all. We've been doing that work for 50 plus years, so we're excited.
Yeah, I'll just add, as the largest employer in that area with Ballot Health, is that we've already, of course, signed up to become one of the workforce pipelines for this program. And so, and with that, you're seeing others already want to sign up and be part of this. I think that's a huge statement of what really this could do. And then I think the other piece to that is that, when you think about the child care piece, is that that's another thing that we are investing in as we become a community health improvement organization instead of a healthcare delivery system, is that we know how much child care is needed. We heard that time and time again with these families. So the other piece that we're going to be doing as a health system, as the backbone to the strong accountable care community, is really investing into building child care capacity. So these families do have somewhere to go. They have investment in how to get there, and then that moves them into a different way of life.
Any other questions? Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
I do really quickly want to say we appreciate your time and your attention, but we have a whole team of people back in our region that worked on this, and they did an outstanding job, and they deserve a round of applause, including Carolyn, who, bore her heart to us. So let's,
Yes, that's a good point.